In our headlines on this Friday, January 3rd, here in Seoul. An hours-long attempt to arrest President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence was abandoned this afternoon after a tense confrontation between his security officials and the authorities seeking to detain him. And with regard to the impeachment trial against the president, a second pre-trial hearing took place earlier this afternoon at the Constitutional Court, which now has 8 justices to rule on his political fate. Meanwhile, findings show the number of newborns in Korea rose for the first time in 9 years last year, with over 1,000 births registered, up 3.1% on year. A tense confrontation took place at President Yoon Suk-yeol's residential compound earlier today between his security officials and authorities seeking his arrest. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon reports.
The first ever attempt to detain a sitting president was halted after a 5-hour standoff between investigators and the Presidential Security Service that included some physical confrontations. On Friday at 8 a.m., staff from the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials attempted to execute the arrest warrant at the presidential residence. However, they called off the attempt after 5 hours as they found it impossible to carry out the arrest due to the Presidential Security Service's refusal to comply with their requests, and there were concerns over the safety of the investigators on the scene. The CIO, on leaving the site, issued a statement saying, "We express serious regret over the behavior of the suspect who refused to comply with legally set procedures." According to police who supported the warrant execution process, the Presidential Security Service, citing the Presidential Security Act, wouldn't allow further access into the residential area around 200 meters from the house. The CIO also told reporters that there were around 200 PSS agents and military personnel that created a human wall, while there were only 20 CIO agents and 80 police officers to execute the secondary search warrant. With the failed first attempt, the joint investigation team made up of CIO staff and police said they have opened a case against PSS chief Park Jong-jun for possible obstruction of the performance of official duties and summoned him for questioning on Saturday. Meanwhile, the legal team of President Yoon repeated that the warrant was illegally issued and thus was not valid. It added that the CIO, which does not have the authority to investigate insurrection charges utilizing police officers to gain access into a security zone, was illegal. The warrant is valid until next Monday, and more attempts to detain President Yoon could be made. For now, the CIO is yet to reveal what its next move will be in attempting to execute the warrant. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, that confrontation between the presidential security personnel and the team assigned with his arrest has been drawing large crowds of President Yoon Suk-yeol's supporters to the neighborhood, denouncing attempts to detain him. Our Eun-hee is live on site. Eun-hee, welcome. What have you been hearing on the ground?
Yes, Sunny. So I've been here for a few hours now near the presidential residence in Hannam-dong, Yongsan-gu District, Central Seoul. It's been over 3 hours since the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials suspended its operation at around 1:30 p.m., having been unable to execute an arrest warrant against President Yoon Suk-yeol. In response, President Yoon's supporters cheered and reaffirmed their commitment to continue the rally overnight. The rough estimation of the number of participants increased this morning to increased from around 600 at 7 a.m. this morning to approximately over 10,000 by 1:50 p.m. Some of Yoon's supporters had even stayed overnight to keep watch. Similar to yesterday's scene, many are voicing strong criticism of the CIO, arguing that President Yoon's declaration of martial law is lawful and insisting that it is the main opposition party leader Lee Jae-myung who should be arrested instead. Meanwhile, those opposing the president have also been holding rallies and marches calling for his impeachment and demanding his arrest. Korea's largest labor organization, the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, launched a 2-day protest near Hangangjin Station at 3 p.m. today nearby, demanding President Yoon's arrest. However, the area around the presidential residence here where I'm right now standing is predominantly filled with his supporters, who on Wednesday received a letter from the president himself. In the letter, he expressed his gratitude for their support, assured them that he was closely following the rallies, and promised to continue fighting until the end.
Right, I see. Inni, despite the presence of people both in support of and against the president, there have been no reports of unfortunate incidents. So I'm assuming the safety measures there are well in place.
Yes, exactly. So far, there haven't been any big accidents reported, and in preparation, 45 riot police units, each consisting of 60 officers, along with over approximately 2,700 police officers, have been deployed here at the scene near the presidential residence. Additionally, over 130 riot police buses were stationed at the scene, and traffic around the presidential residence along Hannam-daero is partially restricted. The police buses deployed by the CIO have now been removed, and vehicle restriction in certain areas have been lifted. However, the arrest warrant is valid until next Monday, January 6th, meaning the CIO could resume efforts at any time, possibly over the weekend. We can likely expect both small and large protests to continue for a while. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Inni, thank you for that report. That was our E&E reporting live from the president's residential neighborhood. Moving forward now, rival political parties have also voiced their respective thoughts regarding the attempt to arrest the suspended president. The ruling People Power Party condemned the attempt, calling it an abuse of power. Its Emergency Leadership Committee Chair Kwon Young-se also accused relevant authorities of overstepping their boundaries and vowed to take action should they continue to do so. In sharp contrast, opposition Democratic Party floor leader Park Chan-dae expressed regret over the failed arrest attempt, urging authorities to commit to the execution of the arrest warrant issued against the president. He also claimed anyone who hinders the arrest should be detained. A second pre-trial hearing took place at the Constitutional Court this afternoon. For details on this, I have our correspondent Oh Soo-young standing by live at the venue. Soo-young, I hear today's session stretched on quite a bit amid some tense words between the two sides.
That's right. The hearing was actually expected to take around 40 minutes like last time, and during the first preparatory hearing for former President Park Geun-hye as well during her impeachment trial case. But the session lasted almost an hour and 20 minutes as fiery opinions were exchanged. Now, Yoon's team strongly contested the grounds suggested by the National Assembly's impeachment panel, saying that they were based on media reports and mere opinions, also accusing the media of being hostile to the president. They also contested the National Assembly's decision not to include insurrection charges as one of the grounds for impeachment, saying that it was fundamentally inconsistent with Parliament's resolution to impeach the president. When the presiding justice pointed out that Yoon's team had not offered even a basic stance on why the martial law was ordered and also why force had been used at the National Assembly, Yoon's lawyers said it is impossible to simply offer a basic opinion, and that as much as the country's leader faces impeachment, the proceedings must be taken all the more seriously. Now here, the National Assembly's representatives accused Yoon's team of delaying tactics, which the team denied and said that they'd been strenuously preparing for the trial. However, Yoon's legal team walked into court for the hearing, attorney Bae Jin-an appeared to suggest that they will continue to contest the proceedings.
Without a proper evidence review, merely because a few Constitutional Court justices are nearing retirement, the process is being rushed. I won't use the term hasty, but if this process concludes that quickly, it defies common sense.
Right then, Soo-young, despite the trade of tough words, I understand the hearing itself, though, ended inconclusively.
That's right. So the two justices presiding over the case, they attempted again to outline the main grounds for President Yoon's impeachment trial, as well as draw up a list of witnesses and evidence that the two sides would draw upon throughout the trial. But as you said, it concluded rather inconclusively. However, the grounds for impeachment as well, they were not finalised. Last time, the National Assembly's impeachment panel called for the declaration of martial law and the proclamation of various related orders, the lockdown and disruption of Parliament, the search and seizure of the National Election Commission, those as the main grounds for impeachment. Today, they said they would like to add President Yoon's alleged order to detain judicial figures, including former Chief Justice Kim Myung-soo, as one of the grounds for impeachment. Otherwise, the two justices, they only got as far as confirming and partially selecting evidence and witnesses, mostly presented by the National Assembly's representatives. President Yoon's side did not submit a list of witnesses and asked for more time to prepare their evidence plan for the trial proceedings until the next preparatory hearing. However, the court decided not to schedule another pre-trial hearing. They will go straight into the trial sessions beginning on January 14th at 2 p.m. and the second session 2 days later.
Right, January 14th at 2 p.m. Meanwhile, Seung, you touched upon this in your coverage yesterday. I suppose we are looking ahead now to some tangible advances in legal proceedings, given the presence of 8 justices at the Constitutional Court, right?
That's right. As you said, the Constitutional Court now has 8 justices, one short of a full 9-member panel, of course, but still the same number as when former President Park Geun-hye was impeached in 2017. Now, legal experts, they widely believe that the court will decide on President Yoon's impeachment by April, before April 18th, to be specific, when senior justices Moon Young-bae and Lee Min-sun are set to retire, as the court is likely to issue a ruling before another vacancy complicates the process. Now, if we refer to past trials, the impeachment of former President Roh Moo-hyun was concluded within 63 days, while Park Geun-hye's case took 91 days. However, the timeline for Yoon's proceedings, it really largely depends on his cooperation. If Yoon's defense requests dozens of witnesses or raises further procedural objections, then the trial could face significant delays.
Right, I see. All right, Seung, thank you for that coverage, and do keep us posted. A travel ban has been issued against Jeju Air CEO Kim Il-bae as part of investigations into Sunday's plane crash at Muan International Airport. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
The investigation into the tragic Jeju Air passenger plane crash that killed 179 people continues as police issued a travel ban on a person believed to be a key figure in the investigation. The Jeonnam Provincial Police Agency issued a ban on Jeju Air CEO Kim Il-bae as it investigates charges of occupational negligence resulting in death. Jeonnam Police also raided Muan International Airport as well as the office of Jeju Air. The search and seizure operation was conducted at the Jeju Air office in Seoul and the Muan office of the Busan Regional Office of Aviation. Authorities are securing evidence regarding the location of the airport's localizers and the communication record between the pilot and the control tower shortly before the crash.
Airport facilities are managed by the airport, and the Aviation Administration branch office is also clearly involved in matters like air traffic control and other areas. So of course we have to look at them all. This is in order to secure records and documents related to aircraft operations, maintenance and facilities.
The Ministry of Land Infrastructure and Transport has also begun an on-site inspection of air navigation safety facilities, including the position of the localizers, which is at the center of controversy in the Jeju Air crash. The inspection will be conducted across all airports nationwide. Investigators have also been able to secure the audio files from the cockpit voice recorder of the ill-fated aircraft. The CVR contains conversations between the pilots, communications with the air traffic control, as well as warning sounds inside the cockpit. With the bodies of victims being returned to the bereaved families, funerals and burials are still taking place. With many of the victims' families still at the airport, authorities have also begun returning items and belongings. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Acting President Choi Sang-mok chaired a macroeconomic meeting on this Friday, his first since taking over the presidential duties. At the so-called F4 gathering of top finance officials, he underscored the importance of maintaining around-the-clock market monitoring to allow for prompt response measures. Now, Choi also pledged to preside over weekly meetings in line with his economic authority amid his expanded responsibilities. Meanwhile, on a rather promising note, as we start this new year, over 242,000 babies were born last year, marking Korea's first annual increase in 9 years. Our Ian Jin has details.
For the first time since 2015, the number of births recorded in South Korea in a year has surpassed the previous year's figure. In 2023, there were 235,039 births recorded, and according to data released by the Ministry of Interior and Safety on Friday, in 2024, that figure rose by 3.1% to 242,334. Of the new babies born in 2024, 123,900 are boys and 118,300 are girls. Meanwhile, the number of deaths also increased in 2024. Compared to the figure recorded in 2023, there were 6,800 more deaths, coming to 36,700 in 2024. This brought the country's population to 51,217,200 registered residents at the end of 2024, marking a decreasing trend for the fifth consecutive year. The biggest portion of the population in 2024 was people in their 50s at 17%, followed by those in their 60s making up 15.27%, while the smallest portion was children under 10 years old at 6.13%. 이은진, Arirang News.
In other news, disgraced crypto entrepreneur Kwon Do-hyung, also known as Do Kwon, pleaded not guilty to charges of fraud in his first court appearance in the U.S. The plea was placed at a Manhattan federal court on Thursday following his extradition from Montenegro on Tuesday. According to authorities, investors across the globe were affected by the $40 billion crash of Terraform Labs cryptocurrency. Kwon has been accused of a long list of fraudulent activities as well as money laundering and may see a prison sentence of 130 years if convicted of all charges. Up next, we share with you some of the K-pop plans for the music stage this year, as well as the K-productions to hit the big and small screens in 2025. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin has more.
If you're curious about some of the K-culture events and content coming up this year, this is your guide. Starting with K-pop, several big names will be back in the spotlight. The long wait for BTS fans is almost over.
With all members set to complete their military service by June, I think BTS-related topics will once again be heavily in the spotlight this year.
And Blackpink is ready to be in your area once again. YG Entertainment's chief producer Yang Hyun-seok confirmed last July that new music and a world tour are on the way. Meanwhile, a new generation of stars is ready to shine. 3 of the big 4 K-pop agencies, JYP, SM, and YG, are planning to debut new groups this year. JYP will kick things off with the debut of its 7-member boy group, Kickflip, this month. SM is gearing up to introduce its first girl group in 5 years following aespa, while YG will also unveil its new group, which chief producer Yang calls the next monster. Turning to cinema, 2 of Korea's most celebrated directors are making their much-anticipated returns.
Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17, which explores the world of cloned humans, and Park Chan-wook's latest film, No Other Choice, are in the lineup. There's excitement about how these works from master directors will shape and inspire new cultural trends.
Bong's sci-fi film Mickey 17, starring Robert Pattinson and Steven Yeun, will hit North American theaters on March 7th with its Korean release earlier that month. Meanwhile, Park's new thriller No Other Choice, featuring Lee Byung-hun and Son Ye-jin, is keeping its release date under wraps. Streaming platforms are also ready for some major releases. Squid Game fans won't have to wait long for the next installment. Following the recent release of Season 2, the Netflix original will conclude with its 3rd and final season as early as this summer.
I shot the Season 2 and 3 at the same time, continuously. So I'm now working on the post of Season 3. It's almost done. We're working on the music and CGI right now.
The streaming giant is also bringing back another favorite. Its 2024 hit Culinary Class Wars will return with a 2nd season in the latter half of the year, promising more intense and thrilling cooking competitions. From music to film and streaming, that was your 2025 Culture Preview. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. We begin with an update on the truck attack that killed 14 people in New Orleans. The attack, which happened in the early hours of New Year's Day in the city's bustling downtown area, is likely to be the act of a lone perpetrator. This comes from a Thursday briefing by the FBI, which clarified initial fears of accomplices still at large. Investigators say they have found no evidence suggesting other individuals were involved. However, the FBI did confirm that the suspect, 42-year-old Shamsuddin Zabar, a U.S. citizen from Texas, appears to have been 100% inspired by the Islamic State, commonly known as ISIS. Authorities based this on videos posted by Zabar before the attack. The vehicle used in the attack contained explosives, and an ISIS flag was also discovered inside. U.S. law enforcement sources have identified the person inside the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas on Wednesday local time. The individual killed in the incident has been identified as 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty soldier from Colorado Springs. The law enforcement officials stated that Livelsberger sustained a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head just moments before the explosion occurred. The FBI has stated that the incident is believed to be an isolated act and has no connection to the New Year's Day truck attack in New Orleans. Investigators are continuing to examine the circumstances surrounding this incident. Now to Italy, where starting this month, outdoor smoking is officially banned in the city of Milan. As of January 1st, smoking is prohibited in all outdoor areas in Milan unless individuals are in isolated spaces at least 10 meters away from others. Violators will face fines ranging from 40 euros, approximately $45 to 240 euros, about $260. Electronic cigarettes are exempt from the ban. The policy is part of Milan City Council's air quality law enacted in November 2020 to combat air pollution. Milan is the first city in Italy to implement such extensive outdoor smoking restrictions. The oldest person to have won an Olympic gold medal in their lifetime has died at the age of 103. Agnes Keleti, a Hungarian gymnast, claimed her first gold medal at the age of 31 during the 1952 Helsinki Olympics. 4 years later, at the Melbourne Olympics, she secured 4 more golds, becoming a 5-time Olympic champion and the oldest female gymnast to win a gold medal. Born in Budapest in 1921, Keleti began her gymnastics career with a national championship win in 1940. However, later that year, her athletic pursuits were halted when, as a Jew, she was barred from all sports activities. She evaded deportation to Nazi death camps by using forged documents and hiding in a village south of Budapest. The celebrated athlete passed away on Thursday in a Budapest military hospital, where she had been receiving treatment for heart failure and respiratory complications. She would have turned 104 on January 9. Yoon Se-young, Arirang News.
It's colder than yesterday as cold air has come down from the northwest, with cold wave advisory in effect for northern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and inland areas of Gangwon-do province. Paju in Gyeonggi-do province plummeted to -12 degrees Celsius this morning. This cold spell will continue across the country tomorrow. The atmosphere is still dry around the East Coast. In particular, a dry weather warning is issued for eastern parts of Gangwon-do province, and a dry weather advisory is also issued for the coastal areas of the Gyeongsang-do provinces and Seongnam in Gyeonggi-do province. In some areas such as Ulsan and the surrounding Gyeongsang-do provinces, it has been dry for around 30 days. Please take extra precautions. The first weekend of the new year will start off at -5 degrees Celsius in Seoul and Gyeongju. Daily highs will move up to 4 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, Daejeon 6 degrees. Heavy snow is forecast in the central parts of the country on Sunday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.